Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. I'm happy to see that most of you are already here because I would like to get started right away. I know it's a little bit early in the Netherlands, but because it's already late afternoon in China, we don't have that much wiggle room time-wise. So people might be dropping in during the event and that's just fine. My name is Marita Mitrovic. I work as an officer for Innovation, Technology and Science here at the Consulate General of the Netherlands in Shanghai. And today we have organized a short yet comprehensive webinar on the alternative protein industry here in China. The webinar is organized by the Netherlands Innovation Network that I work for and is co-organized by GFI Consultancy, Wageningen University and Food Valley in the Netherlands. The reason that we organize this webinar is because the Chinese alternative protein industry has really developed over the last few years and has also gained momentum due to Corona. And this offers a lot of business opportunities for Dutch businesses. But I will not be the one explaining about developments here in China. For that, I invited several specialists in the field. But before we get started, a few things to mention. First of all, this webinar will be recorded but will not be made public. Only participants can rewatch the webinar. Just send me an email, let me know, so you can rewatch it upon request. Also, we of course would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, please let us know. We have a 1-hour webinar with 6 speakers, so it's very information dense. And that's why we have decided to wait with answering questions until the end of the webinar instead of the end of every presentation. So that's why I suggest you to write down your questions in the chat. The chat will only be visible to the host, which is me. And in the meantime, during the presentation, I will have the opportunity to collect the questions, combine them, and make sure we have a very efficient 30-minute Q&A session. So write down, send it to the chat. It will only be visible to me. When we're going to do the Q&A, I also welcome everyone to turn on their camera to make it a little bit more personal. Of course, if you don't want to, that's fine. And if time allows, you can even participate in a Q&A session yourself. For those who are just dropping in, welcome. And I suggest to go to our first guest right away. Our first guest is Doris Lee. She is General Manager of GFI Consultancy. I have interviewed Doris before for our podcast Innovation Matters, which I highly recommend. I will send you a link afterwards together with all the other documentation I will send to you at the end of the webinar. Doris has a lot of experience promoting sustainable foods over the last 8 years in Hong Kong and Berlin, and she's now continuing her mission here in China. I would say, Doris, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marita. And hello, everyone. My name is Doris, representing GFI Consultancy. It's great to see so much interest in the market here. And it's my pleasure to be presenting to you today an overview of the Chinese alternative protein market. Let me share my screen now. So before I jump right in, let me briefly introduce the organization I'm working for. So GFI Consultancy, in short GFIC, focus on accelerating the development of alternative protein industry in China. We focus on 3 foundational technology pillars, including the plant-based proteins, as well as cultivated and fermentation-derived proteins. As there are some of the key solutions to ensure a more sustainable protein supply by reducing reliance on conventional animal agriculture. As an independent partner of the Good Food Institute in mainland China, we collaborate with multiple stakeholders, including the academia, scientists, and the for-profit sector, to support the growth of this newly established industry in China. So China is a new leading meat consumption nation, simply due to its huge population. Increasing urbanization and income level in the past few decades has contributed to the drastically increasing per capita meat consumption. That being said, when we compare the meat consumption level in China to that of the US, it's still much lower. Pork has been Chinese people's favorite meat, and Chinese people is generally new to beef consumption. So last year, China had to increase the import of pork meat because of disruption locally caused by COVID. Although China is considered as one market, there are significant differences among regions, provinces, and cities. In this presentation, we are focusing just on mainland China. The meat consumption background has shown China to be a huge potential market for more sustainable meat, eggs, and dairy substitutes due to anticipated needs among consumers seeking for safer and more sustainable substitutes to traditional meat products. However, different than the US or European market, China has a very unique history on plant-based foods. So China has a long history making these substitutes dated back to the Tang Dynasty. It has then always been a part of the vegetarian diet for those who practice Buddhism. It means that consumers are familiar with the taste of soy products as well as soy and plant drinks. This legacy has proven to have pros and cons to the industry development. On one hand, consumers are very familiar with the taste of these soy-made products, but on the other hand, there is stereotyped association of these so-called mock meat products to religion, which also gets in the way of market expansion. There is where innovation plays a role to set the new generation of products apart from what is known as the soy products. And according to surveys rolled out in 2020, the top two drivers to plant-based meat consumption is health and weight loss, while sustainability and animal welfare plays a relatively smaller role, different than in the West, where these factors are actually the main drivers. While China is considered usually just as a consumer market, it's also worth mentioning that China processes over 50% of the soy protein isolate, which makes China also a very important plant-based meat ingredient supplier. Although this graph is a bit old from 2018, but it still shows quite well how in general Chinese consumers are open to plant-based meat compared to other countries, showing a 73% of willingness to try or buy plant-based meat substitutes. As the Netherlands is not on the list, if you look at the Dutch neighbors, including Germany and Belgium, the acceptance is only around 35%. But of course, to make sure consumers will buy plant-based meat repeatedly, there are still more work to be done, which I will address in a later slide. So the year of 2020 is proven to be a milestone year for plant-based meat in China, when the so-called 2.0 plant-based meat has transformed from a foreign concept into a product available in the local market, which you can actually buy and taste. Exactly 1 year ago, we have seen the first Starbucks launch of the Good menu with Beyond Meat, Omni Pork, and Oatly products. It's being marketed as a more planet-friendly and healthy menu. Since then, company has been rolling out products in quick service restaurants wave after wave. Then we see new product launch at KFC, Pizza Hut, and notably Burger King with the Dutch company, the Vegetarian Butcher. And also just last week in Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, the McDonald's also launched breakfast menu with plant-based luncheon meat. Currently, there are around 20 homegrown active plant-based meat startups that are constantly expanding their product range both via B2B and B2C channels. Cargill's and Nestle's have also launched products catered to local cuisines, while some of the international players have also set foot in China, not just by importing their products, but also by setting up the factories locally. So now let's look at the local investment in the field. We have seen a 6-fold increase between 2019 and 2020 on alternative protein investment just in the APAC region, while the global year-to-year increase is 3 times. In the 13 deals made in mainland China in the meat alternative space, the leading one is Starfield with $10 million in its Series A round. And we expect to see not only alternative protein focused investors, but also mainstream investors making their moves like some already did. So while plant-based meat has already gained traction in market, cultivated and fermentation are relatively just budding without any product being launched into the market yet. There are just a few startups in each of the 2 categories. The awareness of leveraging the relevant technologies to create meat, dairy, or egg substitutes are still quite low, and of course have a longer way to overcome different consumer perception and regulatory hurdles. Later on, we will have a regulatory expert, Wilfred Feng, talking about in-depth on novel food regulatory pathways. On the other hand, the government already has started the first national grant with a specific focus on alternative protein, covering both plant-based meat, cultivated meat, and precision fermentation. It is just reasonable to expect that alternative protein as a whole will grow rapidly in the next few years with support from private and public sector because of its untapped potential as good and sustainable protein source. Why, as I mentioned earlier, now that products are out there in the market, what is the key to increase consumer adoption? Since I don't have time to dive into the 4 key factors to consumer acceptance, I will point out that Chinese consumers are very discerning eaters and have a high standard, especially when it comes to a reinvention of the national food of mock meat. While suboptimal products with great marketing could lead consumers with curiosity to try for once or twice, to make them regulars would take truly tasty products before price can come down. Also, health and clean label are more of a concern here than in the West. So these are the factors foreign companies would like to look out for when entering China. There is also a gap for non-soy and pea products, as the main ingredients for the existing products here are still mainly soy or peas. As well as there are gaps also for products that are localized for Chinese cuisine, as I have shown some products and brands developed for the local market. Here, you will see that burger patty alone would not bring meat substitutes close to our life, because we here in China, we don't eat burger patties every day. So localization is really the key to market adoption, such as applications like hot pot. We will soon be publishing an innovation insight in about 2 weeks' time, focused on local application opportunities, so stay tuned. The alternative protein industry is still not older than 2 years old. It's important that we as GFIC takes a collaborative approach in our work to build the innovation system up with partners. For example, in the form of events and roundtables to foster regular exchange. We also strive to bridge key knowledge gaps to introduce and create resources such as reports and tool sets for those who want to enter the industry to know how and where to start. For the latest happenings in the local alternative protein scene, you can follow us on WeChat if you or your colleagues read Chinese. For English, you can also follow our partner, the Good Food Institute APAC, on LinkedIn. This is the end of my presentation. And I hope you have gained a basic understanding of the local alternative protein landscape in just shorter than 15 minutes. And feel free to reach out to me or our colleague at GFIC if you have any question or is looking for collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doris. Thank you for kicking off this webinar. We immediately go to our next guest, but first a very quick reminder that if you have any questions, please put them down in the chat. It's much more efficient to post them right now than wait until the end. So our next guest is Dentons from PinDuoDuo, a company that even though it has over 700 million active online users, it's not well known in the Netherlands. PinDuoDuo is the largest agriculture-focused platform in China, and Dentons will tell you everything about it. Don, it's your turn. Thank you, Don, for your presentation. I will share contact information of all the speakers with all of you, all the participants. So feel free to contact the speakers after this webinar. We will go to our next guest, which is Mr. Wilfred Feng. He's an attorney at Dentons. Mr. Feng focuses on a wide variety of topics, among them global food, agriculture, and environmental law. He will tell us all about and advise us on the novel food regulation in China. Mr. Feng, I would like to open up the floor to you.
Thank you, Marita, for the introduction. Good morning, everybody. Good to meet you online. As mentioned, I'm with Dentons law firm Shanghai office, specialized in international regulatory laws, among other things, those concerning food, drug, agriculture, and the chemical sectors. And the topic of alternative protein has been one of my focus in the recent years. I'm glad to have this opportunity to share with you some of my thoughts. Let me get my screen shared. Okay. First of all, for those of you are considering doing food business in China, here are a number of important things you have to pay special attention to. First of all, if we are considering making investment in China, there is a specific regulation called Catalog of an Industry for Guiding Foreign Investment. Literally, in that official document, the industry sectors are categorized into prohibited, restricted, or encouraged. For instance, certain business activities or sectors like the genetic modification of a crop seed will be listed as prohibited. Foreign investment is prohibited in that area. On the other hand, there are areas where the foreign investment is encouraged. For instance, the processing of agricultural produce. Now, what does encouragement means? Literally, it means you may be entitled to certain tax benefit for such investment, or you may be entitled to a certain favorable price of using land. And also, for individual province, they may also have their own version of foreign investment policies and listing which sectors they will appreciate the foreign investment, which sectors they may have certain restrictions to foreign investment, etc. So if you are considering making investment in China, we advise you to pay special attention to this policy and have a well thought about the plan. The second thing is so-called food safety national standards, GBs. Literally, for each food product to be put on the Chinese market, you need to point to an existing food safety national standard to comply with. If you cannot do that, then that product will be considered as a product with no applicable food safety national standard. There is a quite complicated procedure to go through in order for such a product to be lawfully sold on the market. Especially for the alternative proteins, these GBs may be related to nomenclature and the categorization of such product with quite significant impact. And the third thing, if your product is involved with a certain novel food ingredient, then there is a pre-market approval process to go through. Later on, we'll have a few words about what makes the food product novel in China. The next thing, GMO. If your product or technology is associated with the GMOs, there might be chances that you have to go through a specific agricultural GMO process in order to receive a biosafety to support the safety of your GMO product. Interestingly, in the past few years, there has been the regulatory deadlock between the agencies in China for approving GMO-derived food ingredients. I'm glad to report to you that such a regulatory deadlock is gone about 1 month ago. Now, especially for the alternative product, you may pay special attention to its labeling and claims, especially those claims concerning its nutrition profile, its suitability to vegetarian, etc. The next thing, a quite unique Chinese phenomenon, is called the cross-border electronic commerce, or CBEC, which means if a overseas supplier sells his product through certain cross-border electronic commerce platform, its product may be entitled to certain waiver of regulations or reduce the burden of compliance. For instance, that product may not even need to accompany a Chinese language label. It may be waived to comply with the certain food safety national standards, as we talk about. But of course, we have to be very careful to look at the risks and the benefits of such approach on case-by-case basis. The last thing, I think it can never be overemphasized, that is the IPR strategy, especially for alternative protein, this product concerning the agriculture and the living organisms. The strategy has to be well thought about, because in most jurisdictions, the patent protection may not be applicable to living organisms, but there are certain other way around to get such product protected, either based on the technology-oriented the patent protection, or sometimes the plant variety protection. Again, I'd advise you to have a closer look at the IPR strategy, get your product protected in China on case-by-case basis. Now, if you look at the whole world, there are different systems adopted by different countries or regions. There are some jurisdictions that has an explicit pre-marketed approval system for new food ingredient or new food additives. In US, there is a so-called generally recognized as safe or GRAS procedure. Among other things, GRAS can be determined by the company itself, very unique. And in EU and in China, there is a specific novel food procedure, as we mentioned. Actually, in most of the countries in the world, there is no pre-market approval process for new food ingredient. There are post-market regulations to ensure you don't sell an unsafe product on the market to toxicate people. Excuse me. Now, the key question: what makes the new food ingredients in China? For new food additives in China, there is a specific positive list in the form of a Food Safety National Standard, or GB 2760, that makes that determination easier, as long as a substance is not listed on GB 2760. Basically, it will be considered as a new food additive. And if you want to use it, you have to go through a pre-market approval system, as I just mentioned. For novel food ingredient, the criterion is that if a food product has been sold in at least one province in China over 30 years with a good safe use history, it will be considered as an existing food product. Otherwise, it will be considered as novel to Chinese consumers, and the use of it needs to go through a pre-market approval process. The other thing is, if your product, as I mentioned, is derived from GMOs, you may go through a dual approval system. Simply, you need to get a biosafety a certificate from the agriculture authorities first. Then you get the either new food additive approval or novel food approval from the health authorities later. Now, due to the time limitation, I will not go through the details of what makes a good dossier of application for this novel food ingredient or new food additives. Basically, the data requirements are quite similar to those in the European Union. If a product involves something new, be it the new food additive or novel food ingredient, what are the key questions should be asked? Like we just talked about, first of all, you need to determine whether your product is truly new or novel. Sometimes the devil are in details, and you have to be very careful to take a close look. If it's really considered as something new or novel, then how to determine whether it can be safely used by Chinese consumers? The first question, whether it's sourced from food or non-food plant or animal or whatever sources, and whether the source species is known to be a human allergen. For GMO product, you have to consider its donor species, its the process of genetic modification, and of course you have to consider the weight of the evidence, the abundance of the scientific literature and the studies. There might also be other considerations. For instance, the international clearance status literally means whether such product have already been approved in the European Union or the United States. There will also be social economic assessment as well. Thank you for your patience. I stop my presentation here to see whether you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilfred Feng. Thank you for your time. If you have questions, directly post them in the chat. I can see some people are already making actively use of it. Thank you very much. If you want to contact Mr. Feng directly, I will send you his contact information at the end of the webinar. Our next guest is my colleague in The Hague, Emiel Mulder. He is a Business Development Coordinator China at the RVO, which is part of Economic Affairs. And Emiel will tell you a little bit more about tools and funding available for Dutch businesses going abroad. Emiel, it's your turn.
Thanks, Marita. And hello, everyone. My name is Emiel Mulder. I'm a Business Development Coordinator China for the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. And today I will tell you a little bit about the instruments we have available for Dutch companies who want to do business abroad. So how can we help you? We have 4 pillars, as you can see here on the slide, all divided in several instruments. I all made a hyperlink for the different instruments, so you can later look it up in more detail. What are the main things to think about? Marita will send you this information later, this PowerPoint. So first I will pick out a few and tell you a little bit more about it. So first we start with the customized country information. Well, let's say you want to, you have a nice product and or a service and you want to go abroad, but you don't know to which country you want to go. Well, you can approach us. You can ask a maximum of 10 questions about your product. Let's say you want to know more branch organizations in a certain region or country. You want to know a little bit more about how to do business. What are the do's and don'ts in a certain country? We can help you with that. We can compare a few countries for you or regions within a country. So let's say you want to go to China, but China is very big, 1.4 billion people, inhabitants, and you don't know to which region you should focus on because you don't know which sector is strong in which region. So we can help you with this. We make a nice report together with our network in China. Then we have the starters for international business. As you can see, we have 6 different vouchers available for starting SME companies. We have the coaching vouchers, the market entry vouchers, the knowledge vouchers, the individual exhibition vouchers, the mission vouchers, and the Kickstart vouchers. Well, 2 I will explain a little bit more in detail. The first one is the knowledge voucher. It focuses on tax or legal support. So, for instance, if you want to if you need to have a contract with your business partner in a new country, but you don't know the legal system of this country, you can hire expertise. We have this subsidy available, so that a legal expert can help you with setting up a good contract with your partner. This is a service we offer. It's it covers 50% of the costs, up to a maximum of €2,500, excluding VAT. And then we have the Kickstart voucher. Well, this is a voucher meant for companies who've been hit by the corona crisis. So that's quite a few, of course. Here you can hire some expertise who can help you maybe mitigate some of the production process or of your supply chain due to the outbreak of corona crisis. Then we have the business partner support. Well, if you're going to a new country and you already have some market information, let's say you already did the customized service report, and you're quite sure that you want to enter this market, the Chinese market, but you're having trouble finding business partners, we can also help you with that. We would like to ask you to fill out an intake form, show us your track records, what you've done, and then we can approach, together with our network in China, we can approach potential business partners. We're not gonna match you with direct end consumers, but we can connect you with agents, distributors for your company, or a production partner if you want to produce in the country. And if these companies, agents are interested in working together with you, we will do a warm introduction. So that they know once the Dutch government introduces you, it's usually an easier way to get in. Then we have the Partners for International Business. So for China, for instance, this is an instrument which works really well. It's a consortia, so a group of companies from the Netherlands are working together to position themselves on the Chinese market. Why do we offer this? Well, Chinese companies, stakeholders, usually looking for a big chain solution. So not just, for instance, if you're building a greenhouse, they're not just looking for the builders of the greenhouse, they also would like to have the system integrators and the management of the greenhouse. So that way you have a chain solution. We support this financially, help position Dutch companies in different markets. But we also need Dutch companies to financially commit to this. This is a 2 or 3 year program and can be extended by another year. And we need at least 5 active SMEs in order to apply for a Partners for International Business. It can also be knowledge institutions. There can also be a bigger company involved, but at least we need 5 SMEs. Then we have the demonstration feasibility studies and implementation studies, DHI, that's the Dutch abbreviation. Well, demonstration projects already mentioned in the name. You can get funding for demonstrating a product or technology in your target country, so in this case China, so you can showcase that it actually works. Then we have the feasibility study. This one you already have a partner in the target country who is very interested in buying your product or service, but is still a little bit hesitant on a few things. You can do a study together and get some finance for that. Then we have the investment preparation study, and that's more focused on building a business case for your own company. So this DHI, this is a subsidy, and it covers up to 50% of the project costs of a maximum of 100,000 or 200,000 euros. And then last but not least, we have the Dutch Trade and Investment Fund. It focuses on investments, imports, and exports. So, for instance, if you want to open a new office in the target country, but you're having troubles getting the right finances, getting the loans from the private banks, we can help you. We can help you with that. We can help giving some loans under certain conditions, of course. More information on that you can find on our website. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any more questions in detail, you can ask them to me during the Q&A or send me an email later. Thank you very much, and back to you, Marita.
Thank you, Emiel. Something I forgot to say is that we will also share the PowerPoint presentations with all of you at the end of the webinar. So our next guest joined last minute, but I felt she really had to be a part of this event as well. Her name is Juliana Russell. She works for the Alternative Protein Labs, which is part of the China Plant-Based Food Alliance, an important player in this field. They offer a program specifically for foreign plant-based companies that would like to enter the Chinese market. Juliana Russell, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Juliana, the International Marketing Director for Alternative Protein Labs. We are a Beijing-based organization focused on solutions for today's alternative protein market. Our multinational team combines an understanding of international business models and technology with deep roots in the China alternative protein market and industry. So as you just heard today, there's never been a better time to enter the China market. China is booming right now. And even though there are obstacles and challenges that many companies face in terms of multi-layered regulations and policies, in addition to unclear expectations, Alternative Protein Labs is here to help. We're here to provide solutions and channels specifically for alternative protein and plant-based protein companies in China. So we're offering Protein Innovation Partners, a market partnership program. This program is presented by CPBFA, the only NGO in China dedicated to alternative protein industries. Also AFP, a public-private platform for promoting agricultural and food cooperation between China and international companies and governments, and China industry and government. And of course, Alternative Protein Labs, leveraging a network of preeminent leaders from all aspects to help companies take away barriers and accelerate the route to market. We support the protein transition. We advise companies on regulatory and compliance issues, tech scouting, transferring, import-export requirements, China market strategy, due diligence, and local business and partnership development. We facilitate collaboration with academic institutions and scientists, corporations, startups, and investors to support plant-based and cellular agriculture food innovation in China. Together, we facilitate cooperation and commercial links between an over 300-member organization leading alternative protein and plant-based food organizations across the supply chain, from conventional alternative meat suppliers to agri-food startups and multinationals, investment organizations, and retailers. So we've been pioneering alternative protein innovation in China for years, bringing together key influencers on platforms, including China's premier and only plant-based foods industry meeting called the Future Foods Forum in key markets like Beijing and Shanghai. We've been doing this for the last 3 years, and I'm going to show you just a short video of the Shanghai Future Foods Forum from last year.
所以在中国，植物肉产品的做大，一定是要跟中式餐饮深度的绑定，因为这是一个万亿级的市场。
因为其实现在我们讲的性蛋白真的跟名字一样很新，特别在国内还是一个刚起步的行业，所以非常需要初期的时候大家一起合力把这个产业建起来。
第一次也有了肉制品带头的一些领先的企业参与进来，可能我觉得更多的利益相关方可能都比较认可这件事情了。
它必须满足2个要求：第一，口味；第二，它必须性价比要高。
你比如说，你买了一袋叫素肉的，你回家吃了一口，发现它不像肉，你可能下次再遇到这样的包装，这种你可能不买。
之所以把今天的会场安排在整个展馆内的最里边，也是希望大家能够通过在外边去看一看，其实那就是我们现有的，目前可以看到一些技术的解决方案、装备的解决方案，包括一些可能像配方、原料的解决方案，都在外边。
也很庆幸，从2013年开始有高通量的这个技术跑出来了，所以让这个事情变得可能。 我们中国 OSI 集团在中国呢，认为植物替代产业未来一定蓬勃发展。
我们是需要
在座的所有的各个就是全产业链各个领域的这些利益消费者需要去合力，才可以去让一个整个产业是一个市场有新的这种更新跟创新。
从监管政策来讲，或者法规来讲，它永远是滞后于行业发展的。中国植物性食品产业联盟作为这样一个行业的团体来讲的话，它一方面可以跟监管部门对接，另外一方面，它可以处于一个非常好的角度，了解行业的需求，了解行业出现的问题。
So you just saw on the video our key stakeholders that are part of our network and partnership program. These are the customers, partners, and solution providers that can quickly link your company and solution with the China market. So what is the Protein Innovation Partners advantage? Well, we're the only full service representation program focused exclusively on alternative protein in China. And there's no upfront cost. We're actually seeking long-term partnerships. We also offer localized solutions, translating your products and solutions to the needs of Chinese companies and consumers. And we can even match you directly to central buyers with major local and MNC players in China, including we have meat and dairy manufacturers, we have ingredient suppliers in our network, plant-based dairy and beverage companies. We've got R&D institutes and investing firms and consumer good companies, government agencies, all coming together to form this network that we're inviting you to be a part of. So 2 decades in China means we know what's right for China now, and we know where you fit. We're looking for partners as serious about alternative protein and the China market as we are. From innovation to implementation, we help companies raise capital, protect and license IP, sign strategic partnerships, and ultimately commercialize products and technologies for the China market. Our network, with their research and influence on the ground, are helping to shape current market development. So this is what we can offer. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Shui, our CPBFA Executive Director, to share some examples.
When it comes to consumer market, especially in alternative protein industry, one size no longer fits all. Ultimately, the success of a company depends on how they overcome the challenge of local customization, whether it be local sourcing production requirements, and especially adapting to local cuisine and customer preferences. Taste is king. The Alternative Protein Labs has taken the best practice for innovation and commercialization that transformed the IT and software industry globally and brought it into the alternative protein and plant-based foods industry in China. Alternative Protein Labs, we bring together a network of leaders from R&D, production, regulatory, and business experts, to help our new industry grow by connecting companies on the supply chain, share best practices, and create open source and R&D localized for China market. Here we would like to welcome premium companies, big and small, interested in tapping into China and the global market, to join us in this partnership program. I would like to provide a case study of a high moisture TVP ingredient supplier from the United States that provide a unique solution for plant-based meat. Through engagement with the organizations in our network and the technical commercial support from Alternative Protein Labs, to localize and then commercialize the product for China, this ingredient supplier company was able to sign a multi-year volume contract with one of the leading local plant-based food manufacturer and brand in China. This American company was also able to attract 2 potential investors interested in helping financing local manufacturing in China for their solution. Thank you.
Now we're offering a select number of seats in our partnership program, and we're keeping it small. We want to help you, no matter what stage of the game you're in, to tailor your solutions for China. Not only would you benefit from our one-stop shop full service representation program, but you would also take a seat in our network to bring your product and solutions to market and even influence policy and industry practice on the ground across the value chain in the China market. So this is an opportunity you don't want to miss, and we look forward to working together towards a sustainable food future. Please don't hesitate to contact us at the email you see below for more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. That was a very brief introduction of the program. So if you want me to share any information with the participants, let me know, then I can do that at the end of the webinar. Then we go to our last guest, last but definitely not least. We have two people from Unilever North Asia, and they will talk a little bit more about the vegetarian butcher and their entrance here in the Chinese market. We have Lina's son, who is R&D director here at Unilever Asia. And unfortunately, she couldn't make it herself, so she pre-recorded her presentation. And her colleague, Haibin, who is R&D manager, will be here to answer the questions. So right now, we will first look at the pre-recorded presentation of Lina's son.
Hello, everyone. This is Lina from Unilever China. I'm leading the North Asia R&D team for Foods Instrument team. Today, it is my honor to be here. I believe many of you know more than me about Vegetarian Butcher. The Vegetarian Butcher is a company born in Netherlands. It was created by Mr. Joop, a ninth generation of farmers from 2007, together with innovative chefs and scientists. The vegetarian meat made from grains developed. In 2012, the vegetarian butcher product became available in select retail and restaurants in Europe. After 7 years, the vegetarian butcher officially became part of Unilever and started a strategic operation with Burger King. Just before the last Christmas, the vegetarian butcher successfully landed in 5 Tier 1 cities in China by cooperating with Burger King, and started the journey of butchers in China after well preparation from both global and the local team. Today, I'm going to share with you some learnings and experience. Our mission is to become the biggest butcher in the world by making plant-based meat the new standard. We would serve the meat lover who is awakened to the idea of cutting down to eating animal meat, but who doesn't want to missing out. The ambition never changed, no matter when we locate it. Now it's even bolder after being a part of Unilever Future Food ambition. Global sales target of 1 billion euros from plant-based foods within the next 5 to 7 years. The commitment not only allows us to have a broader ambition, but also will keep driving us to moving forward faster. It is also important to maintain the DNA of the company, consistently with what it is created. The vegetarian butcher is successful in Netherlands because of its thoughtful leadership, craftsmanship, its rebellious humor. All these features are brought to China too, and made us unique and remembered by customers and consumers. A Chinese saying, knowing yourself and know your rivers, you will never lose the war. It tells us we should know our strengths and use them well to make your business thrive. The vegetarian butcher, we have very strong plant-based R&D capability both globally and locally, which is at the heart of the food revolution. It fully supports the business development in China. The combination of the technology, local consumer insight, and the market understanding is our weapon to win in the market. More and more innovations is expected from China to boost the business in China, and also have a high potential to travel globally. Reliable supply chain is second key strength we have built for the vegetarian butcher to give us a business sustainable growth. Obviously, the effort to ship a product within Europe is fundamentally different from the cross-border business. You will encounter a lot of risk, registrations, operation cost. So if you want to build a long-term business in China, please consider a robust supply chain plan in China. Being a part of Unilever, we have very strong marketing powerhouse. It has almost 1 billion consumer data connections and a marketing network in more than 100 countries, including China. The network has enormous experience and expertise, and all are being transferred to plant-based meat quickly. This is key for us to understand the market and build our strategy accordingly. Last, the vegetarian butcher success in Europe has built a large network and a partnership with multi-internationals, for example, Burger King. You will have a natural advantage with your partners than that with a stranger, using the network you already have. In Europe, people saying, when in Rome, do Roman do. It's the same here when you are doing business in China. Learn and respect what Chinese people love. There are so many different choices and offerings within the Chinese cuisine. Build a local relevance is very key for success. There are so many players for plant-based in China. It is our duty to have a strong social responsibility to build the category and the industry in China. The vegetarian butcher actively demonstrates the purpose, better for people, better for planet. Last but not least, digital commerce is very hot in China. The way you play in a social platform will impact what you could deliver. It is a huge opportunity here. Thank you.